Well, I'm here again, going to try to get people interested in this my case that's gone on for, as the Herald had pointed out, a dispute between me and Rob Lamar for 13 years. Although in essence, it's only been 8 years since he took me to court on 2012. Uh, I did call him out in 2008 on his approach to build my building permit back then, and but Doug Head, who was very helpful in my defense, and what who literally uh, stepped in. Anyway, point being, this whole issue now comes down to I've been suffering 8 years of abuse from Rob Lamar over his interpretation of the building code. Uh, this began when he came to my home at Dearmore Road and handed me a stop work order and an order to comply on May 7th, 2012. In the meantime, I went through all the details of what I plan on doing, and again, it's of a similar design he approved for my front addition, which was twice the size and scale, and we went back. He went back to the township, knew what I was planning, my garage workshop permit. He literally, I've got to be nice. Anyway, point being, I submitted my permit application on May 24th, 2012. At around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Rob Lamar wasn't in the office at the time. What's amazing is that that very same day, he must have came back. He knew my email address from 2018 or 2008. He knew I was a contractor and a carpenter from 2018 or 2008 permit application. They have my business card stapled to the file for my home, but he ended up writing the May 24th letter and telling me that I had to comply with all these other items. Uh, and mailed it out that same day to an address we never lived at, which was astounding because he knew I was at this house and working on this house and staying here. Why did he mail it out? Why couldn't he have emailed it to me? That in itself is questionable conduct. Now, again, what's worse, he mailed it to an address I've never lived at, or my wife and I. It was he mailed it to some number at Woodfield Road in Toronto, but it was not our house that received it. And as I was busy doing certain things and getting prepared, uh, I didn't pay attention because I submitted my drawings and I expected, okay, it's busy, I'll give him some time. So I never heard nothing until June 20th, when I find in my mailbox on the June 21st the letter Rob Lamar sent to my address in Toronto. I don't know how it got in my mailbox because the mail hadn't come. And what's interesting is they when I called him, he went on about blaming me for his mistake on where he mailed the letter, that I should have changed the address in the township. Well, clearly someone doesn't do their job in the township because you mailed it to the wrong address anyway. So, a point in question, we went on to a long discussion on the procedures and what to do, and then he kept insisting that I hire someone to do my drawings. And what's interesting is the named individual happens to be Jim Thompson. Coincidence that it's the same last name as his assistant and the processor for minor variance applications, who's his assistant, Jeanette Thompson. Uh, I don't know. But going back anyway, I told them my drawings are fine. I've been doing this for many years. Uh, and the point being, if there is something missing, generally, and which has occurred in the past, and that's normal in our business, if someone missed something, the plans examiner would highlight or mark in what they thought would be needed. But not Mr. Lamar. He carried on this nonsense. We went. He told me I had to get a new survey, which I did. I had to get the approval from the health department, which I did. Then he turned around and said I had to have a minor variance because of the setbacks. So I paid the money for the minor variance. In the meantime, he kept telling me my drawings are inadequate and I had to hire his friend. That in itself is a violation of the code. And to my thought is he's it's cronyism by doing this, and the fact that he's admitted he's aware that a homeowner does not require a BCIN qualified draftsman, and he knows that the house is a single story, one level post and beam construction because he approved the front addition 16 by 38 with a cathedral seal. No, anyway, as I'm going through this now. I've got, anyone who's followed me, seen all the documents from the lawyers. When he took me to court in 2012, both the lawyers in question that worked for the township, John Ewart and Russell Palin, they were aware that I had met every requirement, and they even knew I had paid the penalty fee for the two orders, and they still carried on misleading the judges. Now, in saying that, I've been now well over 3,200 days of waiting for our permit. I've just, again, had to go back and I've written to council. I submitted it on March 23rd, a deputation to council, which if anyone would like to see the bullshit that goes on, go to the township website and look up the actual agenda and open up my file and see my 73-page brief. Now, going back, one of the things that has been constant throughout this ordeal is they're insistent that I must sign this waiver to exonerate them from wrongdoing. It's a full and final release. I have to sign a release to exonerate Rob Lamar, his family, his heirs for wrongdoing. Until I sign this, they will not give me my building permit, from what it looks like. That's fraud. That's abuse of power. And what's even worse, the two lawyers knew this. Now, Russell Palin, gracefully, he came to the bar in 1983. He decided last year that he's going to retire. Interesting though, he retired. Maybe the pressure was too great, or his guilt got to him, knowing that he's no longer representing a system of justice that's fair to the poor individuals. I don't know. But in the meantime, our mayor and council has had so many complaints that they ended up calling in Performance Concepts to do a review of the setup. And they found that there's a problem. One man shouldn't be in charge of all planning, all building, and all, basically be first contact for everything to be done in this township. So they've made a suggestion to replace Rob Lamar. Well, as I'm now in my ninth year of waiting for a permit, I'm at a loss because this council still has done nothing. I'm still waiting for my permit. My wife wants a sewing room. That was my plan. Uh, this is insane beyond belief. And the sad part of it is this council and the upper management are no longer working for the best interest of the public. They're working to cover their own asses. And as I've been doing more research, I'm sitting here looking at, since the amalgamation in 2020, it's funny how the same people have been in charge for over 20 years, and they're all on the honey-do list, or the provincial disclosure for payroll. We have in this community 7 people being paid well over 100 and some odd $1,000. We only have less than 17,000 people in our little community. I went through all the other townships in here, and having 8 lower tier municipalities plus the Peterborough County Council, we have 8 chief building officials, all having different opinions and understanding of the building code. And we have 8 CEOs, all having their own thoughts, and they're all on the public sector salary disclosure list. What happened to having everything under one roof? The province used to have it mandated that everything was covered under one. The building code itself is standard issue across Ontario. But what's occurred now since the amalgamation and since they brought in the BCIN qualification is that we have now gotten unreasonable amount of court cases going in, and this book shows, the Annotated Building Code Act shows, there are more and more court cases involving chief building officials or planning officials who are making up their own interpretations, and they're not following the law. And what is troubling is that they don't have to pay for the court costs. We, the people, pay for it. And even though we are members of our little corporate society, we're stuck paying our own bills. My case, I've been before 8 judges, and Justice Lack has dismissed my case twice and then made a ruling that basically clearly outlines my complaints. You can't make this shit up. This is anyone who would be going into court nowadays against the township or any municipality isn't fighting for your rights anymore. You're fighting against the insurance providers. And they have, as Justice McDougall has, and I have his recording, he graciously sent me after in one of our settlement agreements, stating I would take years to get it settled because they have billions of dollars at their disposal to tie me up in court. Well, guess what? This is not going away, and I am not going to quit. And we need to get the province to bring in Peterborough County, bring this county under one roof, one council, because having 8 and literally 5 council members and 8 lower we're paying for. We have 8 chief building officials, all on the public sector record for employment, 8 CAOs. They make up their own determinations on what's best for the society. How can you have a sector that has only 2,200 people living in it in our county, and most of them are, Selwyn Township has the most people. The rest have less than 7,000, and one even lower. How do we have 5 council members distributed like this? This is insane. Someone needs to do something about this. Again, I'm now after just one thing, my building permit. And as Rob Lamar wrote in his first action, he wanted to tear my house down. Well, I am going to tear your house down, Rob Lamar. And if, unfortunately, the people working in our township, we have great people. Angela Chittick has been, our clerk has always been honorable, been very courteous, helped me. She gave me the files of my, it took a little while, but she ended up giving me my files on my house. And they show that Rob Lamar was aware I was a contractor and builder. Uh, Going back, and the CAO, Miss LaValle, was aware of every step. Rob Lamar's sworn affidavit states that. The council members were never informed of the court date back in 2012 until after I brought it to their attention. Apparently, from what I learned, my August 28, 2012 letter to council, I dropped off at the county council chamber or office, never made it to the council. Now, in saying that, who hid that away from the council members? I've been to the council in October 10th, 2017, after all this nonsense with the court, trying to get them to look into other wrongful acts Rob Lamar's done. And then they just shoved me away, went hiding again. This is not how a township should be run. We need to get an outside investigation done, brought in from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, the Attorney General, to look into what's going on.